humiliating the family by having such an extravagant party without them. My dad demanded to know how I could exclude them after everything they've done for me. They painted themselves as victims, making it seem like I'd deliberately set out to embarrass them. I didn't respond. I knew there was no point in arguing with people who refused to take accountability for years of neglect. By the afternoon, things escalated when my younger brother made a lengthy post on Facebook. In it, he called me selfish and accused me of tearing the family apart. He read about how hurt my parents were, framing them as innocent victims of my supposed vendetta. A few family members commented, offering their support to him and echoing his sentiments. However, what surprised me was the number of friends who jumped to my defense. One friend pointed out how my family had consistently overlooked my birthdays for years. Another reminded my brother that just last year, they threw him a huge party while completely forgetting mine. The comments section turned into a heated debate, with more and more people calling out my family's hypocrisy. Eventually, my brother deleted the post, but not before the damage was done. My parents, likely feeling cornered, switched tactics. That evening, they sent a long email filled with guilt-laden language. They talked about how hurt your father is and how they can't believe you'd cut us out like this. They painted themselves as victims, conveniently ignoring all the times they'd made me feel invisible. They also demanded a sit-down meeting to resolve this, adding that if I refused, they might reconsider supporting me financially or emotionally in the future. I replied with a short, unemotional response, stating that I wasn't interested in mending a relationship built on manipulation and guilt. I made it clear that I wouldn't be attending any meetings and that my boundaries were non-negotiable. As word of the fallout spread, a few members of my extended family reached out. My aunt sent me a message, scolding me for hurting my parents and suggesting I apologize to keep the peace. A couple of cousins messaged me with a mix of support and confusion, trying to piece together what had happened. What stood out the most was a message from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. She admitted she'd felt similarly neglected by my parents and siblings growing up and applauded me for standing up for myself. Her words were a small but powerful reminder that I wasn't alone in this. The situation escalated again when my photographer posted the official photos from the party. The pictures were stunning. The elegant decor, the joyful moments on the dance floor, the epic cake cutting. Friends and colleagues left comments about how amazing the night looked, while my family grew more enraged. My mom texted me screenshots of the photos, accusing me of rubbing it in their faces. She claimed I'd gone out of my way to flaunt the party online, completely ignoring the fact that it was my friends who shared everything. Despite the backlash, I had no regrets. The party was everything I dreamed of, and for once, I felt truly celebrated. Every ounce of effort and every penny spent had been worth it. The final straw came when I heard about a family gathering my parents had hosted. They'd invited several relatives and used the opportunity to explain the situation, painting me as ungrateful and attention-seeking. I started getting messages from relatives who hadn't been there, repeating the same narrative my parents had spun. Some scolded me, while others wanted to hear my side of the story. I decided not to engage. I realized that the more I tried to explain myself, the more fuel I'd give them for their pity party. Instead, I focused on the positives. My friends continued to show unwavering support, sharing stories of how they'd seen my family treat me poorly over the years. Hearing their perspectives validated my decision to set boundaries. Even at work, colleagues who'd attended the party expressed how much fun they'd had, telling me I deserved every bit of it. Eventually, I decided to block out the family drama entirely. I muted group chats, ignored emails, and focused on my own life. I threw myself into work and hobbies, spending time with people who genuinely cared about me. For the first time in years, I